my own personal, vendettas. I don't know if that's the right word. Why not
Yeah.
just remove yourself off of all of them in the hopes that maybe Trump's party would pick up those votes in those states?
Because the states don't have, because in America there's only about 10 states that matter. At the
Really?
end of, yeah, and interestingly, to your point, it's a good question, and I have the answer. So interestingly, in America, because of the Electoral College, Aaron, you probably know that Florida has something like 28 votes, California has like 52 votes, Texas has. So no matter what you do in those states, they're either they're always notoriously going to be Democrat or they're always notoriously going to be Republican. So take Texas. Texas is predominantly always going to be a far right Republican driven state, 80%. New York, on the other hand, far left blue Democrat state 80% of the time. So staying on the ballot in those states keeps him in the game to qualify for that 5% as an independent, but it never sways the votes in those states because it's too big of a gap. The
So you just
removal
don't
of
you just don't think that extra 5%
they
that he
won't.
could maybe get would make a
He's
difference in
done the
your mind?
math. Yeah, he's done the math. His team's done the math. Him being on the ballot affects nothing in those states. There's such big swings to the left and the right that they're not what's called battleground states. The 10 battleground states are so close that third-party candidates can truly drive an election towards someone else. Ross Perot was the closest it's ever happened to. He was very close to winning. He had 19% popularity, 19% of the vote at one point. He was giving Bill Clinton a run for his money at one point. And by the way, Aaron, very important distinction, is he was on every debate stage and he was on mainstream media just as much as I think it was Bush. Was it Bush? Clinton and I don't remember, but whoever the
Yeah, I
Democrat
remember
was.
he got a lot of
Got
media
a lot.
attention. He got a lot of media attention. It was very fair.
Very
and there was
fair.
still a lot of people that said he can't win, but at least he got a fair shake at
That's
it, where it
exactly
doesn't
right.
feel like RFK got a fair shake
That's
at it.
exactly right. You just nailed it. So that if you look at history, you go, why was the independent candidate Ross Perot taken seriously and interviewed and heard out, but why Kennedy isn't? I mean, there's a couple reasons. I'll talk about why Kennedy has been marginalized and censored, which is really important to understand. But to your question earlier, does that make sense now that he can't? Staying on the ballot in those 40 states won't change anything, but in the 10 it will. So he's only coming off the 10 and he's staying in the game for that 5% because who knows where things are going to end up, right? Just because he endorsed Trump doesn't mean he's like all of a sudden going to flip Republican and now all of a sudden be a Republican. And by the way, Tulsi Gabbard came into the mix. Yeah, they want that uniparty strategy. They want to do what's right for the country and see if they can't bring a million ideas together and really do what's right and focus on those three core issues. But what if 2 years down the road, Trump ends up getting elected and it doesn't work out? And he goes, well, we didn't agree. We didn't see eye to eye. We tried. I'm going to go form I qualified to form my third party in 2028. So quitting now altogether, Aaron, would almost be like you're running a business successfully for 5 or 10 years and you get a cool idea and you just throw the business to the side and go work on the new idea. But then the new idea doesn't work out in 2 years. And because you didn't stay with the core business that had a proof of concept, you now have nothing. So there's that element of keeping the independent staple in the ground, if you will, while he's potentially working with the Trump campaign, Uniparty, and bringing some key people from the left in, just to stop the socialism train wreck that's taken place over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think in marketing, and as you know, I run an agency. I always tell people the confused mind says no.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a little bit concerned that he stayed on these other 40 ballots because the confused mind might say, am I voting for him or is he with Trump?
Fair point.
I don't really understand which one, so I'm not really going to go either way. And that could potentially hurt them. I understand the math that you're talking about, but I think in a perfect world for me, if I was going all in to try and push through this agenda by partnering with Trump, I'd probably pull myself from 40 states. But hey, I mean, he was running for president. He's probably smarter than I am.
Well, listen, no disrespect to me or you here. I think Kennedy's a lot smarter than both of us when it comes to a lot of issues.
Probably.
So I always believe he's playing chess while maybe you and I are playing checkers. So he tends to always be a step or two ahead or a thought or two ahead, and his research is second to none, and he's published more books than I have on my shelves here with enough data to prove his points. So again, if you focus on these big three issues as to why he did it, who's going to allow me to do what listen, I saw this guy shed a tear at the end of his speech announcing this. So when you talk in the beginning about which one is it for press and for notoriety, or is it because I genuinely care so much that I need to just align with someone who's going to allow me to help with these three big topics: ending wars, ending censorship, and ending the chronic disease crisis. I believe, and anybody can have their own belief, that it's genuinely coming from his heart. And I believe it for two reasons. Number one, because I've studied him for 5 years. I know him well, and I genuinely like him. Number two, I watched him shed a tear in the interview. And number three, in the Tucker Carlson interview down below that we're linking to, he said one thing in the middle. He said, I would give my life to save one child from the chronic disease crisis that America is in right now. I would give my life to save one kid. And he said it with so much passion and enthusiasm and authenticity that I was just as blown away by that statement as I was with the tears coming down his eyes when he was talking about the chronic disease crisis in his opening speech.